More than 13,500 refugees have crossed into Armenia from Nagorno-Karabakh. Yerevan confirmed it's preparing to take in tens of thousands more. The region is recognized internationally as part of Azerbaijan, but has been controlled by ethnic Armenians for 3 decades. The enclave has been supported by Armenia, but also by their ally, Russia, which has had hundreds of soldiers there for years. The U.S. has urged the two sides to bring an end to hostilities.
We do believe there should be an international mission to provide transparency, reassurance, and confidence to the residents of Nagorno-Karabakh and the international community that their rights and security will be protected consistent with the public statements that Azerbaijan has made. We are concerned about the situation. I will say that in terms of what we think is important, it's number one, that the ceasefire that exists now be maintained, that there is no further military action. Number two, that the humanitarian needs of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh are addressed. And number three, that Azerbaijan and Armenia reach a lasting peace agreement.
In the Armenian capital, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan is facing growing pressure to resign since last week's ceasefire deal. Now, thousands of protesters say he did not do enough to protect ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. Meanwhile, envoys from Armenia and Azerbaijan are due to meet in EU-backed talks in Brussels today. It will be the first of such meetings of the two countries since Azerbaijan seized Nagorno-Karabakh last week. Now, the governments will be represented by their national security advisors.
Now we are here with only one demand. We demand the resignation of the capitulator. Let him resign. No surrendered capitulator has the right to rule the country. Everything is carried out according to the same scenario as in 1915. Turkey and Azerbaijan are the creators and executors of the same plan.
As a result of the policy pursued today by the authorities of the Republic of Armenia, we are suffering increasing losses both in Nagorno-Karabakh and in Armenia, and the purpose of our rally today is to call on our people to unite and eliminate this anti-national.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson, who's been monitoring developments from London. John, great to have you on Newsday as always. What more can you tell us about the fuel dump explosion?
Cynthia, and very good afternoon to you. Great to be on Newsday as always. Well, this terrible incident, this dreadful accident happened yesterday in the early hours at Stepanakert. Now, all these cities have two names because of the dispute, and for the Azeris, it's known as Kirkendi. We're looking at images now that Arise News got from a normally reliable source of the aftermath of the explosion. 13 bodies were found at the scene. 7 people have died in hospital since, and the devastation seems to have been huge in the aftermath. 290 people are in hospital as a result of this explosion. Little more is really known about what happened. It's speculated on social media that a cigarette or a lighted match accidentally dropped might have been the cause, or possibly people were stealing petrol. The gas station warehouse was very close to an area where hundreds of vehicles are waiting to leave Nagorno-Karabakh, with Armenians fleeing what they say is persecution in the enclave. But whether we'll actually know what caused this accident is unclear at the moment. In the last half hour, President Biden's Special Envoy Samantha Power has been giving a press conference. She's accused the Azeris of blocking aid convoys trying to get in to help the Armenian people still in Nagorno-Karabakh. She said that this is a dire situation in the enclave and getting worse. She's saying that people are suffering from malnutrition and need to be evacuated. So a very strong statement there from Samantha Power. She also announced that the US is giving $11 million to the aid effort in the region. So this, what is essentially a local conflict that's been going on for decades now, certainly involving now the international community. But this accident is obviously a very bad thing for the Armenian people who've suffered so much. But both sides have committed atrocities in this long-running conflict.
All right, John. Now the Armenian premier says ethnic cleansing is on the way. Is that kind of accurate?
Well, I looked up the definition after he said that, the definition of ethnic cleansing, and the definition accepted by the international community is the systematic forcing or removal of ethnic, racial, religious groups from a given area with the intent of making a region ethnically homogeneous by direct or indirect means. So what's going on in Nagorno-Karabakh, the expulsion or the forcing of people out of Nagorno-Karabakh, Armenians who've lived there for at least a generation, out of that area into Armenia proper, does appear on the surface at least to be ethnic cleansing by the Azeris. I have to say that I've been to Nagorno-Karabakh in the past during the previous flaring of the conflict. It's a very mountainous region, but it's got no strategic or historical value to either side. This is a tragedy. It's like two bald men fighting over a comb. The fact that the Azeris have seized Nagorno-Karabakh is just the latest in a long-running blood feud between these two countries, and tens of thousands of people have died as a result of conflict in this region.
Well, it's certainly unfortunate, John, but there are talks in Brussels today to try to find a peaceful settlement. Do you think that these talks will be successful?
There are talks taking place, but it seems like from the statement coming out of Brussels today that it's a taking stock of the situation rather than trying to progress things towards a peaceful conclusion. The parties taking part are the Armenians, the Azerbaijanis, of course, France, Germany, and a representative of the EU. And a statement out of Brussels today say that what the parties are doing is taking stock of the situation and preparing for a possible meeting of the two leaders of both countries, Armenia and Azerbaijan, in Granada, Spain, at a later date. So it seems to be laying the groundwork for a more substantial summit between both sides.
All right, John, what are Washington and Moscow saying about the current crisis?
Well, a war of words has been going on for some days, basically both sides saying that the other is exacerbating the situation. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, said at the weekend that Western powers, and that includes, of course, America, should stay out of the situation. Washington has accused Russia of standing by and allowing the Azeris to take over Nagorno-Karabakh without actually doing anything about it. So relations are not good, and of course, going on in the background of all of this is, of course, the hot war between Russia and Ukraine, with America and Russia on opposing sides. So it's a troubling situation as things seem to spiral further in this Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, where everyone thought initially that it would. The two sides would get together and there'd be some kind of peace, but it just seems not to be happening at the moment.
Well, John, in spite of the fact that this is an unfortunate situation, you've done a thorough job as always. Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson, thank you for joining us on Newsday.